Hey everybody, it's me. Surprise! We've already talked about compound interest and focused our attention on finding a future value, an accumulated amount. We've had certain conditions on what we've been talking about, which are very limiting and not particularly realistic in most people's lives. But it's going to help us when we move forward and add some more realistic kinds of conditions. When we did those problems, finding the accumulated amount, the conditions we imposed upon ourselves were, one, if we were taking out a loan, which includes credit cards are loans. You're using money that belongs to someone else. That's a loan. We said we weren't going to make any payments towards the loan and just wait till a certain number of years, T, and then pay it off. See how much we owe. We also assumed that we weren't charging any more on that credit card or taking out additional loans from the bank. So a home equity loan is an example of a loan that you can take out on top of another loan. When you buy a house, most of us don't pay cash for it. We borrow money. We take out a loan. When you're buying a house, it's called a mortgage. And over time, you do make payments, but you borrowed a certain amount to buy that house. And eventually, if you've been good and you've made payments, the amount you owe starts to go down. And the difference between what you borrowed and what you owe is called your equity. Now, there's some other stuff that goes into it, such as the value of your house from a realtor's point of view, or the value of your house from your county tax assessor. Let's not go into all of those details. That's for a course on real estate. This is just an example. So when you have equity, you can take out what's called an equity loan, which is a loan on top of a loan. It's a loan based on your mortgage. We're not doing that. We said we're not borrowing any more money. We're not increasing our principal. When we were investing in some of our examples, we just sort of plopped a big, huge chunk of money down and said, okay, now I'm going to wait 5 years, 10 years, however long, 12 years, 18 years, and then take that money out and go do something. All those years that have passed, never once did I add any more money to that account. Never once did I invest anymore. And never once did I go to that account and say, I need some of that money. I got a bill to pay. We never took any money out. So we restricted ourselves. No payments, no withdrawals. My battery is low. I need to charge my laptop. Laptop charging. So again, no payments, no withdrawals. That is not the way most things work in real life when we're all on our own trying to deal with our finances. But that's the scenario that we've been living under, and that's the scenario we're going to continue to live under until we get to section 6.2 and 6.3. And then we'll be finished with chapter 6 and do some other stuff. There are other questions you might want to be able to answer, though. Maybe you have a dream. Maybe you have a dream that in 6 years you want to take a trip to that one place you've always wanted to go. And you kind of guess how much money it's going to cost to take that trip in the future. after a certain number of years have passed. And so you know what you want. You might know what annual interest rate is available to you. You're probably going to know the number of compounding periods in a given year, which means you'll know the number of periods times the number of years. But what you want to solve for is your present value. What amount of money do I need to plop into that account so that after those number of years have elapsed, I can have the money I wanted and go on my trip? It's not the most efficient way to plan for the future, but it's one way, and it's okay if that is the only way that you can do it. But I've built for you a Google Sheet template that asks you for future value or accumulated amount, annual interest rate, number of compoundings per year, and number of years, and then it pops out for you your principal, your present value, what you need to invest so that after that time has elapsed, you have the amount of money that you want. The Google Sheet will ask you to input the known pieces and solve for the missing piece. How much do I need to invest now in a certain account to have a certain amount of money, a desired amount of money at a particular point in the future? Some people like to shop. Investors really like to shop. So you might have a whole bunch of money or a little bit of money, and you're going to shop around bank to bank, credit union to credit union, financial firm to financial firm, and see who is going to give you the best deal at a certain time in the future. Maybe you know what you have, you know what you want to have in the future, you know how long in the future you want to wait, but one of two things you don't know. You either don't know what the annual interest rate is that's going to give you what you need, or you don't know the number of compoundings on some interest rate that you need. So how are you going to do that? Solving for little r or for little n is beyond Algebra 1. It is beyond Algebra 2. It is a pre-calculus exercise. Now, if I just frightened you, calm down. If I just frightened you by saying pre-calculus, fear not. I've created a template for you, a Google Sheet. And in that Google Sheet, there is a tab, a sheet, that asks you for your future value, asks you for your present value, asks you for the number of years. And if you want to find the interest rate, the annual rate that's going to give you what you want, it will ask you for the number of compoundings you're able to find. If, on the other hand, you know what you want in the future, you know what you have right now, you know how long you're willing to wait, and you know what interest rate you're able to get out there in the market, maybe different banks, different credit unions, different financial firms offer different compounding periods. Like my savings account, interest is compounded quarterly. My health savings account, my HSA, interest is also compounded quarterly. I have another investment account where interest is compounded semi-annually. So again, I have a sheet for you that's a template where you can put in the things that you know, and it will solve for you straight away without you having to type anything except for the numbers that you know. And it'll give you the piece that you're missing. Another question that comes up a lot, especially if you take a personal finance class or an accounting class, is you might want to know how long you got to wait for something to happen. I know how much money I'm going to invest or borrow. I know how much I want it to be worth at some point. I know my interest rate, annual interest rate, and I know my number of compoundings. But what I don't know is how many years I gotta wait for my present value to turn into the future value that I desire. It is beyond the prerequisite mathematics that we expect for this course. I know some of you have had some of this, many of you have not. So, I built you a template. And in that template, again, you put in the things you know, and without you having to type anything else, it's going to automatically calculate what it is that you're missing. Now, some of you are going to be thinking, but I need to know how to use the formulas. No, you don't. I need to know how to put those formulas into a spreadsheet myself. All right, that might be true if your plan is to go into finance. Now, right now, your plan may not be to go into finance, and you may suddenly discover yourself in a finance job later. It happens all the time. I know more art history majors that have gone into banking than I do business majors that have gone into banking. I'm not lying. There are a number of tools that are out there in the financial industry. A number of tools that we use in college classes like this, or in the business and economics department, or the accounting program, or anywhere else where we talk about the time value of money. There are financial calculators where you just put in the pieces that you know and you hit a button and out pops the piece that you don't know. If any of you have a Texas Instruments calculator, a TI-84, possibly, left over from high school or previous college class, there are time value of money solvers built into it. But we don't need those things if we can use a Google Sheet, and I can save you some money from having to go buy a financial calculator or having to go buy a TI-84 calculator if you don't already have access to one. And so that's what the Google Sheet is for. It's to help you answer the questions quickly. And believe me, unless you end up going to graduate school in a financial discipline, you will never have to learn to manipulate these formulas yourself to solve for what it is that's missing. There are certain professions where, yes, indeed, understanding these formulas, where they come from, why they look the way they do, and how to manipulate them in a billion different ways is important. But all of those disciplines, all of those kinds of jobs require courses besides this one. I don't need that from you. I'm trying to help you be savvy with your own money, savvy with your own finances. I'm going to give you tools to help you see what's going to happen. And I'm not going to expect you to manipulate, solve algebraically any formulas like this. the spreadsheet, the Google Sheet will be there for you.